This recording will cover Chapter 7 in your textbook, Assessing and Teaching Reading, Phonological Awareness, Phonics, and Word Recognition. And this, in my opinion, this chapter is where the textbook really starts giving some good examples and some good ideas of some strategies that you can use with early and beginning readers. So not just the instructional activities, that are at the ends of the chapters, but a lot of the other activities are really good, I think, as we get further along into the textbook. So, okay, sorry, I'm not sure why this little thingamajig is here, so we're just going to leave it there and move along. All right, so learning outcomes, describe overarching constructs that guide reading instruction, examples of instruction on phonological awareness, letter sound correspondence, and phonics, and list the 6 main decoding strategies and compare explicit and implicit code instruction and when you might use each of these approaches. All right, so reading instruction, I almost said intervention. But so first of all, is reading instruction something that we are just born knowing how to do? It's not, right? We do not come out of the womb just knowing how to, this is really bothering me, y'all, how to read. So you all, as future teachers, need to specifically teach your students how to read. So a couple of overarching concepts to address. Reading is a skilled and strategic process, right, that needs to be taught, in which learning to decode and read words accurately and rapidly is essential. So decoding is the same as recognizing words. All right, so that's one thing, basically reading must be taught. We have to learn to decode and read words accurately and rapidly and fluently. And then the second part is, what do you think? Comprehension, right? Reading entails understanding the text and depends on active engagement and interpretation by the reader. So if you're just sitting there, memorizing words and just reading along as fast as you can, but not getting anything out of it, are you really reading? So this includes phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, and vocabulary and comprehension. Okay, so phonological awareness, this is breaking spoken language into smaller units. So remember, this is kind of the overall concept, right? Or the overall umbrella. So breaking spoken language, such as words, syllables, phonemes that can be manipulated. They can be moved around. They can be, placed in different parts of the word, stuff like that. So some skills included here are sound discrimination, counting words, syllables, sounds, rhyming, alliteration, blending sounds, segmenting, and manipulating. And y'all, I'm sorry that this is here. I'm just going to leave it there so you just kind of have to work around it. I don't know why. I apologize for that. Phonemic awareness then is the smallest sound units. Then phonics is how letter names and sounds relate to each other, and this is that letter sound correspondence. So I've always kind of been taught phonemic awareness is just oral or verbal. You're not actually pairing anything with written letters at this point. Okay, you're not pairing the sound to the letter yet. Then when you talk about phonics, this is how the names and the sounds relate to each other and the letter sound correspondence. And if you're reading people, Dr. Gunther, any of the other, Dr. McHouston, any of the other reading people that you may have taken or you might be taking currently, if they say anything different, defer to them. I always defer to them. All right, so development of phonological awareness and phonics. So this is skill development, from larger sound units, thinking about words and syllables, to smaller sound units, or those phonemes. So we want to think about blending, segmenting, manipulating phonemes, stuff like that. And I'm going to show you one example in the textbook. Phonemic awareness with young children. We want to think about teaching them to become aware of individual sounds in language and how these sounds can be represented by a letter or, wait for it because English is just so tricky, a combination of letters, right? So we talked about that, that there are only 26 letters, but there are a lot more sounds if you think back to chapter 6. So we want to also provide instruction with beginning with blending words and syllables. And then later on, so after they can put them together, we need them to take them apart and segment words and syllables and phonemes and blend onset rhymes and phonemes. All right, so I wanted to show you, and I think the PowerPoint talks about it, but I don't want to forget to show it to y'all. So if you go to the textbook and you go to page, hold on, y'all. Hold on. If you go to page, I think it's one, what? Oh my goodness gracious day. All right, so let me move all our little boxes. And for some reason, there are about 14 boxes happening here. So I don't know what that means, to be honest. All right, let me try to line them up. Okay, so if you go on page 182 in your textbook, in the section that says Development of Phonological Awareness and Phonics, this really kind of breaks it down nicely for you. It gives you some examples over here, and it says, you know, whereas phonological awareness encompasses the entire continuum. So I kind of think of it again as kind of that umbrella. Activities that focus on individual sounds in words, that's really phonemic awareness. So they're very tricky, but I think this, and that's why I highlighted, I thought that was a nice description. So you want to think about listening for words that begin with the same sound, right? Anyone whose name begins with this sound, come up to the front. Clapping the number of syllables in words, stuff like that. So you could, for some of your advanced students, monument. So you right now they're just clapping how many syllables did they hear. Or you could do something easier like with the word pat. Okay, I want you to clap each time you hear a different sound. Pat, at. And I know it's hard to hear my sounds over my clapping, but hopefully you got the point. Blending and segmenting words, and then segmenting and manipulating sounds and syllables. So this is really what I wanted to show you. Table 7.1, again on page 182. I really liked this because they give you some examples of phoneme blending, segmentation, and manipulations. Onset rhyme blending and segmentation. Syllable blending and segmentation, sentence segmentation, and rhyme alliteration. So this has a really good example, some really good examples over here. And something that just is hilarious. My friends have a now 6-year-old. So over the past, year and a half, when he was half virtual, half not, he was learning rhyming, of course. And so one of the words was, mommy. What are some words that rhyme with mommy? And his favorite one is mommy commie. And we're all like, yeah, that's probably not the best one to use as your example. But he liked it. It made him laugh. So, that's all that matters. All right. And then if you go on to page 183, this I love. It's called the Elkonin or Elkonin. I've heard it both ways, and I honestly do not know which way is correct. Elkonin, I think is what I usually say. So Elkonin boxes. So you could do this, you could give them little spaces like this. You could give them some markers in front of you, and you could say, I'm going to say a word, and I want you to push a marker, into the box for each sound that you hear. So you could say the word is sit. Push a marker into each box for each sound you hear. It, right? And then as they get a little more advanced, when you start using letters, you could give them the letters and say, okay, push a letter into each box when I say its sound. They would push the S. I-I-T, right? So I love these. There are some great ones on YouTube. Oh, here you go. So you might want to check this out on YouTube. I really enjoyed using those. I actually use these with my students with both autism and learning disabilities. And they all seem to really enjoy them. But there are a lot of other ideas in here. So again, take a few minutes and look through the textbook because I really do think you will get some good ideas out of it. So we're also, so I can't see my timer, y'all, for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay. Whew, gracious day. All right. So I also wanted to talk about, and I know I'm kind of going away from the PowerPoint for a minute, but we'll get back to it. So it'll be okay. So I wanted to talk about progress monitoring in reading and in early reading, excuse me. So I looked, if you look in the textbook, hold on, I have to find exactly what page it's on. You would think I would have this at the ready. All right, so if you look on page 185, it talks about Dibbles at universityoforegon.edu. I have used Dibbles forever. I used it when I taught, and I still, when I taught K-12, and I still teach about it. All of these materials are free. Let me just tell you this. So it stands for Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Skills. And again, I know y'all, this is getting a little cut off, and I apologize for that. But Dibbles is amazing. So I don't work for them. I don't get any money. I should. But so there's a new edition, the 8th edition. There's the administration and scoring guide that you can download for free. This helps with decision making, that progress monitoring where you can look at students. So let me show you an example. I know I'm kind of all over the place, y'all. I'm sorry. But let me show you the grade kindergarten student benchmark materials and scoring booklets. So if you remember a few chapters back, we talked about benchmarks versus progress monitoring, where you do the benchmark assessments maybe 3 times a year and you do the progress monitoring maybe weekly or every other week or something like that. For your students who struggle, you would want to probably do a progress monitoring measure about every week. For your students who are, maybe those tier 2 students, you would kind of do maybe every other week. So tier 3 students, remember that instruction for one or a few, that's where you would tend to use those progress monitoring measures more frequently. All right, so let me just show you. This one is kindergarten student benchmark materials and scoring booklets. So it downloads this whole thingamajig, this zippy thingy. So I'm going to show you the scoring really quickly. So here it gives you these scoring forms. So benchmark 1 is kind of the beginning of the year. Benchmark 2 is the middle of the year. Benchmark 3 is the end of the year. Whatever that looks like, in your school district. So then it's looking at letter naming fluency and phoneme segmentation fluency. Then there's also something called nonsense word fluency and word reading fluency. Okay, so again, benchmark 3 times a year, right? So you would look at it. So letter naming is pretty standard. Here are some letters. Tell me the names of as many letters as you can. Here are the directions. They would go for a minute. Okay, phoneme segmentation. I'm going to say a word. After I say it, you tell me all the sounds in the word. So if I say am, you would say Let's try one. Tell me the sounds in it. The student says it. Very good. The sounds in it are it. And if they don't, here's what you say. So then what you would do for this one, phoneme segmentation, they don't have anything in front of them. For the letters, they have a sheet that looks like this in front of them. These numbers over here are only on the ones, like the copy that you have, just so you can keep track of their scores. But for phoneme segmentation, which is really what I wanted to talk about with this chapter, they don't have anything in front of them. Again, it's all oral, right? So you're just going to say these words to them. And then if they get the sounds right, you will underline, underline it. Ear, right? The, wait, that one's hard. Right? And then this is how you keep track of their scores. Okay. So I wanted to show you that. So that's phoneme segmentation. Nonsense fluency typically starts a little later in kindergarten. So this is where you're going to show them make-believe words, and they would try to tell you the sounds of the letters. This is what it looks like. And then, and this looks different, y'all, this new edition. This is the first time I am seeing it. So kind of stressed me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Don't like change. And then word reading fluency. That's where they would read the words. If they can read the words, great. Not every kindergartner might get to this point. But I wanted to show you this because I wanted you to be aware that it is free, right? So if you end up in a situation where you might need some dynamic indicators of basic early literacy skills, just put in dibbles.uoregon.edu. And again, it's also in your textbook. All right, so I'm about out of time for this one. So, and I know I kind of covered a couple of these things already. So I'm going to stop here and come on back for part 2 of chapter 7.